Hi, I'm Candace, the artist behind Northernly Lit Artistry. Today we're going to paint fantasy planets with watercolors.
Painting space planets, fantasy planets. I'll be using the Grumbacher's Deluxe watercolor set with 12 removable transparent pans, because I'm absolutely loving that stuff. And we're also going to be using masking fluid, or frisket, however you want to call it. So, I have two circles, big planet, little planet. I'm using a H pencil. I'm going to go very, very lightly. Right about there, I like. Trace very, very softly. Don't want to dent the paper. One. And let's put this guy there. Yeah, I like there. All right, planets are ready to go. Now, when I use masking fluid, I have these 3 destroyed brushes that I use. Wow, really destroyed. Okay, so what I thought I might try, I've seen other people use a little metal thing with a ball on the end. I don't have that, so what I thought I might use are tweezers. That's a very thin line. Seems to be working. Sort of. This would probably be easier if I was doing it on a flat surface. But we don't learn until we try, right? This isn't too bad. I haven't quite figured out the best technique for masking fluid yet. But I kind of like this more than the paintbrush. For this anyway. I'd like this line up here a little bit thicker, just to make sure that I've got the coverage and we don't have anything soaking through. Be careful when you're going over masking fluid you've already laid down, because it can peel what's already there. All right, I like that. Time for the little planet. Make sure that your line is solid all the way around because you don't want any paint bleeding through. If you want these spots to be left white. I don't want these planets blended with the background, or I wouldn't be doing this at all. And it looks like we are good. Oh, little spot up here. All right. I will see you back here once this is dry and we will start painting. All right, fantasy space planets. I've used masking fluid to outline where my planets are going to go because I'd like these to stay white for the time being while I paint the background. Again, I'll be using the Grumbacher Deluxe Watercolor Set Limited Edition with 12 removable transparent pans. I can't say how much I love this stuff enough, but we'll save that for the video review. I'm also using Canson's watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press. This stuff is amazing. I'm loving it. I'll also be using the Royal Langnickel brush set. Masking fluid I used is Demco Frisket masking fluid. I thought Frisket was a tacky piece of paper. Anyway, this is what I've got. So let's get started. The masking fluid is now dry, and we are ready for our background. So same as before, we are going to wet the paper first with clean water. I talked a little bit about the paper treatment in the last two videos. I'll put a link up here, here, here. There will be a link to check out those videos, and I discussed paper treatments for watercolor paper. First, I had tried using masking tape on a dry sheet of paper. Then I tried soaking a piece of paper and then stapling it. What I've decided I like the best so far is both. I really like the white border that the masking tape leaves behind, but I found that having the paper stapled kept it a bit flatter than the dry taping method. Okay, so we start the same as before with clear water, and we're going to cover the page where we're painting the background. I'm really loving doing the backgrounds in watercolor. I'm really loving the effect that I'm getting with these space scenes. I've been trying to achieve this with my oil paints for years. So much easier with watercolors. All right, let's get painting. My background is mostly going to be blues and purples. I'm going to use Prussian blue. I'm not exactly caring where the color is going at the moment. I find watercolors to be much more forgiving than I would have expected. As an oil painter, I honestly thought that the lack of control was going to be a barrier for me, but just took a little bit of practice. Go with the flow, and you get some fantastic results. Really loving that masking fluid. purple that comes in this set is violet. These colors are so bright, or they can be so transparent. I'm really, really impressed. So just kind of play around till you're happy. I'm feeling happy. All right, I'm going to start blotting some of this away. And now we wait. You don't want to put your next layer on until this layer is dry, unless you're looking for this blending, bleeding kind of look. But I'm finding that it looks much better if you wait till it dries and keep layering. Now on to the next layer. This time let's use some ultramarine blue. So as watercolor paints go, the more water you add to it, the more transparent your color is going to come out. A little bit more purple, or violet as it's called in this set. I'd like this one to be mostly blue, black in the background. But that extra bit of color gives it that much more depth. All right, and now I will start adding the black. It's space, so just let it flow. As we add layers, it will darken up. So don't go too dark at first. Remember, when you're working with watercolors, you want to be blending wet to wet, basically, if you want to think of it that way. Otherwise, you end up with harsh lines, which is, if that's what you need, then that's what you do. But this is a background, I want it to flow. So I'm learning that there's really no way to avoid your paper buckling like this, especially if you're using such a wet technique like I am. However, I'm finding that the stapling and taping method keeps your paper fairly flat after it dries. So don't worry. it will all be good. And I'd like to go back to the Prussian blue now. Prussian blue is one of my favorite blues. I'm taking my color straight from the pans. I wipe my brush in between colors, so I don't have to deal with dirty pans. And a little bit more ultramarine. I've been watching a bunch of video tutorials lately about watercolors. Everybody seems to be saying, do not take your paint straight from the pan. The colors don't look natural. Depends on what you're doing with them, right? It's art, remember, there is no right way, there's no wrong way, there's the way that you do it. Whichever way you find is working best is the right way to do it. Remember that. Everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. All right, I like that. And now we wait to dry. Okay, we are dry and ready for our next layer of the background. So this is when we start getting to serious business. Our planets are going to have light on this side, so our light source comes from up here. So we're going to make this part lighter, and we're going to darken up our dark spots. So let's go back to the ultramarine blue. Make sure you're changing your water frequently, or have more than one jar of water. Depending on what I'm doing, say if I'm using a lot of yellow, I will have one jar of water only to use with the yellow. Saves me a little bit of time. And the violet. Now, since we know that our light source is coming from up here, that means we want this area to be much darker. Okay, I will blot some of it away. Okay, one more pass at the background. You see these kind of streaky bits right here? I think that's what happens when you use too much water. Who knew? So let's fix that up. We want that part dark anyway, so let's get some more black onto there. Back to our ultramarine blue. I'd like to lighten up this corner a little bit, so get some more water. And I'd like a bit more blue down here. So another thing I have been learning, water will to some extent take away some of your paint. So since our light source is up here, I'd kind of like to give this edge a bit more of a shine. So what I'm going to do is take water. I'm just going to go along the edge here. Yes, that's what I want. But I'd also like this line to be gone, so I will blend a little bit. Again, using water. Just kind of move that paint out. And a little bit more up here I think needs to go. So I wouldn't count on this to completely erase something. But for this effect, it seems to be working. Okay, so what I'll do is just put a little bit of a blue glow where we've wiped the paint off. And we've also got the same effect up there. And maybe let's lighten that blue up a little bit more. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, liking that a lot. Okay, we'll do the same thing to our baby planet over here.
Alright, so our painting is dry, and let's get this masking tape off and get our planets painted. This is enjoyable. Ha! Just like that. Lift the paper up a little bit. Alright, start with the little planet first. So what I'm going to do is dab our planet with clear water and a clear brush. Alright, so our paint should be staying in that little circle. What color do we want our planets? Orange? I think this bigger planet I'd like to keep in the blues. Same thing though. Make it wet only where we want to be painting. And that's where our watercolor will flow. I'm really liking how this line has come in the middle. Okay, now that the color's along the edges, we'll wait for it to dry. Let's put a little bit of salt. Alright, let's get some darker color on this side now. Just going to put some black on. So now that I know what too much water looks like,
Alright, planets are dry. Let's wipe the salt off. Okay, let's get at this planet one more time. Alright, let's see if I can clean up this edge a little bit. So I'm going to take clean water. Alright, one more bit of importance. We forgot about our light source up at the top here, so let's get this wet again.
All right. I think I've fussed with it all that I can. And now for the exciting part. Let's take the tape off. Try to pull perpendicular when you take tape off. And there we go. Fantasy space planets. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, all those other social media links. They'll be down in the description below. And we'll see you next time.